The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Well, coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Pro Wrestling Report primetime Saturday night right here on My 24 Milwaukee. We're going to talk about this past Monday's Raw that was here in Milwaukee at the Bradley Center. Last night's SmackDown, a potential departure from TNA Impact Wrestling, this week's Star of the Week, and a returning segment, Versus, and more. The Pro Wrestling Report primetime Saturday night starts right here, right now on My 24 Milwaukee. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report primetime Saturday night. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside David Herro, coming to you on My 24 Milwaukee. Coming off the heels, David, of Monday Night Raw, which was at the BMO Harris Bradley Center Sports and Entertainment Complex, live on the USA Network. We are here live on My 24 on a Saturday night, right after Ring of Honor. But Raw this past Monday night, want to thank all of you who joined us in the sweet and sexy at the Bradley Center. It was a tremendous time, except for that jerk Mike Wickett being in there. How did he sneak in?
He was with Linda Kay. And you know, if you...
No, I meant, how did he sneak into the suite?
With Linda Kay. Linda Kay is hashtag shenanigans. I mean, you oversold the suite, which there was no room for me. I had to go sit down on those floor seats.
Oh, no, nothing was oversold. You were not welcome in the suite.
That was rather hurtful.
Wickett took your spot.
He did. But that's okay, because it was Raw is Super Friends anyhow.
It was actually Raw is CM Punk and Jerry Lawler, because in the main event, it was a steel cage match. It was Raw action. You selected a cage match between the veteran Jerry Lawler and the champion
Hall of Famer
CM Punk. CM Punk would defeat Lawler in that matchup, Lawler actually tapping out.
You know, if I start on this about Punk and Lawler, it's going to take up the rest of the show.
What do you mean?
You know, I was greatly disturbed by it. I thought it was redonkulous. You don't need Jerry the King Lawler to be in a cage match with CM Punk.
He's beloved.
He is beloved, but use somebody else. There's other baby faces they could have used.
So you don't want to talk about?
Not now.
It's a sensitive subject for you?
No, it's not sensitive. It's just CM Punk gets to close Raw.
He's the champion.
You know what? I'm not going to say it, because you know what's going to happen? You're going to twist all the words around. They're going to twist my words around.
We are not in Tampa.
And the next thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire, and everything's going to be all kabuki-ish.
Jed. That's that guy's name. I was wondering, I saw this new comedy on CNN Thursday night. And this guy, it was like a stand-up routine. And they never said what his name was. I think it was Jed.
Well, it could have been.
A millionaire. Shocking. WWE Raw also featured a main event caliber matchup, a rematch from WrestleMania 27.
Really?
It was a rematch. Was it or was it not a rematch?
You know what?
It was a rematch between The Miz and John Cena, and The Miz and John Cena delivered a good wrestling matchup Monday night on Raw.
It was good for, you know what? The Miz ups his game every single time he gets in the ring with John Cena. And John Cena, you know what the amazing thing is about that? We were sitting there at the BMO Harris Bradley Center Mecca Auditorium Arena.
Sports and Entertainment Complex.
Yes. And I don't really think the fans cared it was The Miz, because it was so loud, let's go Cena, Cena sucks. It wouldn't have made one bit of difference who was in the ring with him, because nobody acknowledged the opponent. Come on, you were there, you heard it.
I heard it, and that's why I'm bothered, because you're lying.
The only one that was chanting Miz was you and the senior intern Cal. That was it. Nobody else cared that The Miz was in that match. But it was a good match. You know what, John Cena?
But it was a good match.
It was a good match. Those two guys went, they got a good 8 to 10 minutes in there.
It was a long match.
It was good. You know what, kudos to both those guys. That should have been the main event instead of CM Punk and Jerry the King Lawler.
It could have been.
It should have been.
Actually.
It should have been.
You know, and there were a lot of endorsed talents on Raw Monday night, including Cody Rhodes, Brodus Clay.
Failed.
Brodus Clay failed? I mean, he was on the winning side of a matchup, wasn't he?
I mean, the Nelson family talents all failed miserably on Monday Night Raw. You had Cody Rhodes counting the number of lights.
Cody Rhodes didn't get pinned.
Yes, he did. The Miz was counting the lights.
singles matchup. Sometimes you lose.
You know what I mean? Daniel Bryan Danielson was too
He's
busy
not endorsed.
arguing, but he's on the Nelson
David Otunga
family.
is endorsed.
Yeah, they all failed miserably. Miserably.
How did Tensai do? He had a great match, didn't he? It was
did.
like a Broadway, they call it, wasn't it?
On Superstars, yes.
Oh,
Fantastic. He won.
okay.
Uh-huh.
And okay, right.
Ryback won. John
Well, you know
Cena
what?
won.
Above all that, there was a major announcement, perhaps, levied down on Raw Monday night, and that came from the chief operating officer of WWE, Triple H. Comes out, his arm's broken, he's in a cast, and David, he never really said anything, but he said so much. He was supposed to address his future, if you will.
He did address his future.
He did address his future, but he seemingly retired, but he never said the words, I'm leaving, I'm retiring. Unless I missed something, the door's still open.
Oh, of course, he married the boss's daughter. The door is always going to be open. Listen, I love Milwaukee, born and raised, but is Triple H really going to retire in Milwaukee? No, it's going to be at...
He called China an ungrateful little blank in Milwaukee.
It's going to be either... China has helped us out tremendously with our deficit. They've given us a lot of money, and I don't understand why he would be unfavorable of all those people. Rather rude. But anyways, getting back to the point at hand, he's going to retire at Survivor Series or at Madison Square Garden or at Wrestle. He's not going to do it at Raw is Super Friends in Milwaukee.
I think you need what Daniel Bryan and Kane were subjected to this past Monday night. I think you need some anger management courses. I'm going to say this, folks. Those anger management segments were some of the funniest things in the last 10 years on WWE television. Certified, stamp it.
And
it was hilarious.
Who would have thought Daniel Bryan Danielson would become the star that he's become? I've never questioned his ability in the ring, but I remember when he had said he was going to cash in his Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. I'm thinking, how are they going to make this guy a main event star?
Right.
And they have, and he has been fantastic. He's funny, he's creative, he's a hell of an in-ring performer, and him and Kane, that is the perfect combination, odd couple dynamic they ever could have asked
He even
for.
electrocuted a man's testicles. I mean, just...
Did that?
Kane did.
Oh.
He talked about it Monday night. Just hilarious, and it's not over. And,
You know, if they're not careful, the what do you call it? The chemistry between these two guys.
could get great.
They might become the next big thing in tag team wrestling.
Bigger than Goldust and Booker T?
Absolutely. It is the odd couple, and there's no way these two guys do not wind up being a tag team somehow.
WWE Raw this past Monday night. I want to thank everybody who we saw at the Bradley Center and all of you that joined us in the suite at the Bradley Center. Bradley Center is going to be the home of WWE again on March 10, 2013. That event
Sunday
announced
night house show.
Sunday night house show, March 10, 2013. David Herro, you were in Green Bay for SmackDown. We're going to talk a little bit about that when we come back. Still to come here on the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime Saturday night. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime Saturday night here on My 24 Milwaukee. A jubilant Damian Nelson sitting alongside a man whose anger needs managing, David Herro, here on a Saturday night.
Do you realize how many years of counseling and therapy I've already been through?
I realize it
Yes.
because PWR has had to pay for it.
But have you?
We have a wellness policy too.
Yes, and I pass it with flying colors every single time. The problem is they can't get a good hair sample. That's where you fall a little short. But anyways, did you feel the chill in the air on that last spot? Blizzard Brawl is coming.
I'm excited.
Here.
I'm excited. I understand that's not even complete, but we found out a bunch of names that are going to be participating.
There's a bunch, and there's a lot more coming, and of course,
Too Cool, Al Snow, Billy Gunn,
Billy Gunn, the Headbangers,
Mosh and Thrasher. That was the very first superstar interview ever conducted here on this broadcast back in 1998. Mosh and Thrasher, the Headbangers.
Really, the Headbangers?
They taught me the capital of Bangkok.
Oh,
Thailand, rather.
Did you go there?
I did not go there. I've never traveled overseas.
They wanted to take you there.
They also told me a little bit about their thoughts of Legion of Doom and Where's My Metamucil, and that was our very first. But they're going to be at Blizzard Brawl December 2nd.
And there's
first.
And you know what? The interesting thing is there's a lot more stuff that's coming. Just wait.
Are you teasing?
Of course.
It's true what they say on Twitter?
Yes, it is true. Contracts need to be signed, and there's going to be a whole lot of shenanigans.
Please tell me that kid from that radio show is not going to be involved.
You know what? Mike Wickett is interested in being a part of Blizzard Ball again this year.
Towel boy, water boy. I mean, he wouldn't even be able to ring the bell properly. That's how inept he is.
Well, they have pills for that.
Let's talk about last night's WWE SmackDown. David Herro, you saw SmackDown Live.
Yes.
And that's the reason Cody Rhodes lost to Rey Mysterio.
Oh, Cody, you know what?
I really don't know why they didn't eject you from the building, because all the negative karma that you brought in to both those shows, Monday night and Tuesday
How
night,
do you figure?
were unacceptable.
I was beloved. I was up there in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Cody Rhodes and Rey Mysterio, and Ray goes over.
Good match,
Cody.
though.
You know, it was a good match. It was solid, but, here's the thing. Eventually, this Cody Rhodes, being a grown man that he is, has this obsession with a luchador in a mask.
Look at all these toys, and even he's got licorice in front of him, folks.
Yeah,
and Cody's a child.
But the thing is why? What's the obsession with it? Because he's ugly under the mask? He really cares about that? If Cody's not careful, here's what's going to happen.
Just going to have a baby?
Well, with Sin Cara?
Who knows what's under that mask?
Anyways, listen, it's going to wind up being a mask versus hair match. And can you imagine if Cody gets Damien's hairstyle? That could be bad for the dashing one.
He's no longer dashing.
Well, he won't be if that happens. I mean, they have way too much money invested into Sin Cara to take the mask off. They get $60 a crack at all those shows. And I see a lot of kids wearing them.
The World Heavyweight Champion Sheamus is in a one-on-one contest with the rising star known as Damien Sandow. Sandow comes up short, but this is a high-profile moment for Sandow.
The way that match was booked was fantastic. Damien Sandow played the what do you call it? The snooty bad guy who ran away.
He's got a little...
He was very cowardish, and that was fantastic. His character was not damaged at all. Sheamus going forward has just been on a roll, crushing guys. You know what? Sheamus has been a very good babyface champion for SmackDown. I think he's been a solid foundation for the show, and I think his programs with Dolph Ziggler and Damien Sandow going forward, obviously with Del Rio, are going to be solid TV for the next few months.
When you see Sandow, do you think at all about a certain manager/wrestler of Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig named the Poet Lanny Poffo?
You know what? I see more Rick Martel than I do Lanny Poffo.
Yes, he was a model.
Yes, he was a model. And Rick Martel and Sandow, similar wrestling philosophy and theory. They're both very good at what they do. Lanny Poffo, yeah, he has the arrogance of the genius Lanny Poffo, but I think I think he's more suited as a model Rick Martel.
We're going to go back in time later on when we return Versus to television here, and we're going to look at a comparison of a star from the yesteryear to today. and which you started last week, by the way.
Didn't start
but
anything
when you
last
think of the Genius and Mr. Perfect, and you go back to that Saturday night's main event, I believe it was, back in, I don't know when Mr. Perfect took the title from Hogan, and Hogan got hit with the scroll, and then he took the little ball peen hammer and destroyed the belt, and
which
Hogan was all
despondent.
despondent.
The Hardcore Championship belt.
It did, yes.
And that's when Hogan got his new belt, right?
A heinous moment, but it was Mr. Perfect and Hulk Hogan. Saturday night's main event, pay-per-view caliber event back in the day.
So are you saying that Sheamus is Hogan and...
I'm not saying that at all.
And Sandow is Mr. Perfect?
If you had to relate, if you were doing those two in a versus segment, I would say that would probably be a possible pairing.
A comparable situation.
Possibly. Comparable. More on SmackDown, including a main event marquee-style matchup for one of the participants that were involved in it who looks like a star, Dolph Ziggler, the endorsed Dolph Ziggler, the man with the World Heavyweight Championship Money in the Bank contract, goes up against the recently returning Randy Orton. Ziggler comes up a little short. Still a great match.
Yeah, I don't understand why Ziggler keeps coming up a little short. You know, he lost the big high-profile match with Jericho. He retires Jericho the next night on Raw. You'd think they would get some steam behind him, unless they really are trying to make Randy Orton and Sheamus and Del Rio and Ziggler into some fatal four-way kind of match. But I think that way you're wasting some of your main event talent that they need more towards the upper mid-card instead of in the main event.
Here's my question about Dolph Ziggler. Does he have, quote-unquote, insurance? Meaning, does it matter if he wins or loses a matchup because he still delivers an exemplary performance when he's in the ring? Because Mr. Perfect, a lot of people have compared, and we're talking a lot about Perfect today, a lot of people compare Ziggler to Perfect, and Mr. Perfect didn't win a lot of matches either.
Listen, the only comparison between Ziggler and Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, is that they're both fantastic bumpers.
Yeah.
Dolph Ziggler, that's where it ends. To compare him with Kurt Hennig's mic skills, with his in-ring ability, stop. He's a fantastic bumper. You know, Dolph Ziggler comes out to Jericho's theme music Monday Night Raw.
Yes, which was great.
They could have done so much more with that with him. And they didn't.
Yep.
And they dropped the ball. You just retired one of the most beloved Attitude Era superstars of all time. And the best you got is, were you expecting someone else? Drop the ball there. So Ziggler does not have an insurance policy as far as I'm concerned, because he hasn't done anything great yet. He's had some amazing matches, don't get me wrong, but look at Santino Marella. Comes out, loses week after week after week.
Right.
He's an insurance policy because people love him. He's entertaining. He's funny. Ha-ha. He's a character. Dolph Ziggler needs to be careful. If he drops a few more matches, even going into a world title match with Sheamus, he's not going to be that strong of a champion.
That's this week's WWE SmackDown report, and it's time now, ladies and gentlemen, to talk a bit about Impact Wrestling and some controversy coming out of Impact, David Herro. Not because Claire Lynch was never pregnant. I guess AJ was not the father. But what's going on with Devon and even Bully Ray? Because there's been a lot of rumors circulating, which, by the way, we haven't talked about here. But now there's some news because Devon has spoken up about it, about his contractual status with Impact Wrestling. What we can confirm, what we can share, what we have independently confirmed is that, yes, his contract did expire, as he has told the world. But I don't really know if he's gone yet. So I guess the question to answer is, should Devon, the television champion, should he stay in TNA after having been there for some 7 years now and achieving a singles championship that he now owns?
Hashtag here's the thing with Devon and TNA. If he doesn't resign, where is he going to go? The WWE is not going to hire any TNA talent in any time soon. Not
Pending
in the
lawsuit.
near future. Well, yeah, with this lawsuit coming up, the corporate offices have no desire to sign anybody. Where's Devon going to go? I can't really imagine him, being on the indies, but I'm sure Devon has saved a bunch of his money from his, 20-year career. Yeah. He has a wrestling school down in the Orlando, Tampa area. He's set that way. But let's not forget, Bully Ray, his contract is expiring soon also.
This guy with the calves?
Yes, Calfzilla. So going forward, TNA, they kind of have the ball in their court because right now they know their talent can't jump ship to go anywhere.
So he should stay, you say?
Of course he should. He's in a great spot. He's their TV champion.
Yeah.
He will not have any gold around his waist in the WWE. unless, of course, he's back with the Dudley Boys.
Speaking of, you mentioned Attitude Era earlier, and, I know a lot of you follow me on Twitter for my genius insight and my mental acumen, at Damian Nelson on Twitter. I got an interesting tweet a couple days ago from this. I think that at one time, you, David Herro, were under the impression that this person was a member of the Mighty Mouse Club. But there's a convert. The Road Dog.
Oh.
I'd like to welcome the Road Dog to the Nelson family. Hoorah! Oh, you got nothing. You may have had your little shirts all over the place, giving out free in the front row on Raw Monday night.
I saw the video.
But the Nelson family, the superstars, the megastars, they see the light like Carol Ann did in Poltergeist, and they turn the corner and they come back to the family, the winning family.
The fact of the matter is, Road Dogg doesn't say anything bad about anybody anymore. He's in a really good place. And it was a free shirt.
You're not being given the opportunity to spin another thing.
I saw the video on Tout. I saw it.
He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to put it. I mean, he bought that shirt.
He did.
He did. He bought that shirt. I gave him a discount, about 92%, but he bought it.
Okay.
Still to come here, ladies and gentlemen, the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. We're going to discuss with you who this week's Star of the Week is, along with this week's Versus segment, a returning segment here to the Pro Wrestling Report. We're going to look at the comparison between the Ultimate Warrior and Big Rob Terry. Ooh. The Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time Saturday night continues right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time Saturday. Why are you using that when you've got this Geritol phone right here?
Because I'm texting Road Dogg because I'm a little disturbed that, for a 92% off, he does all that.
Why does it bother you so much?
Because you just can't do that.
I didn't do a thing. He saw the light.
Oh, he saw the light all right. That's it.
Speaking of that being it, ladies and gentlemen, last week we talked about some comparative stars from yesteryear to right now today. And one of those scenarios that you brought up, David Herro, and what you said was comparing two people who I would have never thought to compare. But really in this day and age, when you look at today versus yesteryear, they are easily compared to each other. And that is the former WWE champion, the Ultimate Warrior, and the current escort for Robbie E., Big Robbie T.
I was going to say he has an escort now?
Big Robbie T. in Impact Wrestling. Versus, look at them side by side, then and now. It's an interesting comparison.
It is interesting because if you think about it, Robbie T., or Big Rob Terry, if he was in the wrestling in the 80s, he would have been a humongous star.
Yeah.
He could have been Ultimate Warrior-esque. Big, jacked up, superhero-looking kind of guy. Him and the Ultimate Warrior, can you imagine the Matt Classic that could have been? Imagine clotheslines and body slams and clotheslines and shoulder blocks and clotheslines and punches and kicks.
But that's the kind of match you expect out of those two people.
That's the match I want to see.
Exactly.
I want to see a fight between two big, hulking superstars.
Yep. Two wrestlers who are clearly wrestlers.
Much like when Billy Jack Haynes had a program with Hercules Hernandez. Two guys, body slams, power slams, punches, kicks, that whole kind of thing.
And everybody ate it up.
You know what, though? It's not fair to compare the two because the legacy of the Ultimate Warrior is legendary. And I really can't say the same about Rob.
We're comparing on looks alone, to be honest with you.
On looks?
Looks alone.
I would still pick the Ultimate Warrior to win. Just because.
The first one or the second one?
No, the one in between.
There was a third?
Yes.
I didn't read that.
That's who I would go with. But absolutely, the Ultimate Warrior, just because of the pedigree, just the mat. He's beaten the Macho Man, Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, all the greats in all of pro wrestling. You got to give a nod to the Warrior.
That's this week's Versus segment, returning this week here to Primetime Saturday Night. But David Herro, one thing that's not returning, well, didn't go away, but maybe should have, is the Star of the Week. Who indeed is this week's Star of the Week?
Star of the Week is going to be Co-Stars of the Week.
Tag team Primetime players?
Daniel Bryan Danielson, DBD, and the Big Red Machine Kane stole the show. Monday Night Raw, anger management, following it up by showing the exact same vignettes on Friday Night SmackDown. That was some tremendous stuff, and I'm looking forward to that going forward. Far more than I am about seeing CM Punk and Jerry Lawler again.
All right, you know what? And that's a great Star of the Week. But why are you so down on this CM Punk Jerry Lawler? CM Punk, the WWE champion, says he's going to be the main event every week. He was in the main event against Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler disrespected the champion. The champion came out and showed Jerry Lawler why he is better, at least in his mind, which then led to the matchup where the fans who wanted to see it picked the stipulation of a steel cage match
at all. They were force-fed that match. They were given 3 choices: a no DQ, which is the same as a cage match, and you know Jerry Lawler's not going to go through a table. The problem with that entire scenario, that entire shenanigans thing is that they have no baby faces for CM Punk to beat up.
They have plenty.
Nobody.
They've got Brodus Clay.
No, they're not going to do that. They're not. So what do? You bring the Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler, a guy who is a wrestling legend and icon.
Is this a rant?
Did I mention he's a Hall of Famer?
He is a Hall of Famer.
Put him in a cage match with CM Punk. Of course, Jerry Lawler is not going to beat CM Punk. He
didn't have to accept.
He is far younger.
We're out of time here.
He called him out.
We're out of time. We are out of time.
Plenty of time on the back end of the show.
We're out of time. This will continue. Oh, fine. We'll continue it online with PWR Extra. But for those of you watching us here in Milwaukee on My 24, we want to thank you for tuning in. You have more to say?
Yes, because you know what?
We'll see you again Saturday night. Next Saturday night, Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. You can catch the rest of this broadcast, PWR Primetime Extra, right now at PWRshow.com.
PWRshow.com.
So what's the issue?
The issue is this, okay? You have guys like Dolph Ziggler. Ziggles. Fantastic. Would they put him in a program with Jerry the King Lawler? No, they're not. You have Zack Ryder. You have Alex Riley. You have the Usos. You have a lot of other young baby faces that they could have benefited by putting in the ring with Punk and let him beat them up. Why Jerry the King Lawler? They did this for one reason. In my opinion, they beat up Jerry the King Lawler in the cage to take him off TV.
Really?
Maybe they want to go with Michael Cole and Josh Matthews. But really, if you think about it, why Jerry Lawler? Why in a cage? You don't got to beat him up. There was no sympathy for Jerry Lawler in that cage match. None. Nobody cared.
You clearly did.
I did. You know why? Because if you're going to turn CM Punk heel, turn him heel.
Is he healable?
Listen, drop kick Hornswoggle across the arena. That'd
be funny.
That would get the fans more interested, more hate on him. You know what? Beat up Santino. Beat up Zack Ryder. You know what? Fine. Go after Brodus Clay. Go after some of these kid-friendly baby faces. If that's what you really want to do and make CM Punk the bad guy, the heel, go that way. But what they're doing right now is the same thing that they did with JR. They rolled JR out and they embarrassed him. They're doing this exact same thing right now to Jerry Lawler. Here's the problem I have with it. He tells Jerry Lawler he's beat a bunch of nobodies. So now, what does that say about the Hall of Fame? Anyone that beats nobodies can get in the Hall of Fame? Hold on, I'm not done yet.
They may have sent that message when Coco Beware got inducted.
Well, of course. And with who else? Who's Kaz's cousin?
Well, Celebrity Wing is okay. Drew Carey.
Yeah. But the thing is then the embarrassing part for me is that Jerry the King Lawler hops up on that announce table and decides to defend the nobodies he beat by saying superstar Billy Graham, Harley Race, Jerry Briscoe. Please, who in the audience there knew who he was talking about, except anyone over 30 years old?
Even in Milwaukee, it didn't resonate, which I was shocked by.
He should have said, I beat the Crusher. I beat Mad Dog Vachon.
Yep.
You know, I beat Nick That's what he should have said.
Right.
That would have got the crowd behind it. And here's the other problem. You beat up Jerry the King Lawler in the cage in Milwaukee. Do it in Nashville. Do it in Memphis, because where is Raw Monday night? In Chicago. So anything they tried to do on Monday night is going to be completely irrelevant come Monday in Chicago, when the crowd blows the roof off the place for that jabroni. Not calling CM Punk a jabroni. It's
You just did.
It's part of the rant. John Cena, CM Punk is going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be a great match. There's going to be a ton of emotion because after watching John Cena up close at Raw at the Bradley Center, it's a different dynamic. I will make fun of John Cena, Super Cena, the whole thing, saying everyone says he has 5 moves or whatnot. I'm going to a different part of my rant. Okay, I'm done with Punk
For now.
John Cena is. I don't know John Cena personally, but seeing what he does is amazing. After his match with The Miz, there was a special needs person in the front row. John Cena, after the match, runs out there, gives him an armband, gives this kid a hug, pictures with them, the whole thing. That was huge. And you know what? You can tell by John Cena's reaction that he enjoyed doing it. It wasn't done for PR. It wasn't done for a photo op. That's what he does. And then you see the videos of John Cena with the Make-A-Wish kids. Mm-hmm. Now, I've never been a part of that. I can't imagine walking into a room and knowing that you're going to give somebody 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour of your time, knowing that person may only have weeks to live.
Right.
John Cena takes a piece of that, each person he meets. You know what I mean? Because he has to eternalize it because he hears their story. And then he goes out for 20,000 people in attendance, and they boo him and they cheer him. Mm-hmm. John Cena may be the hardest working man in all of wrestling, so he deserves to have all those John Cena T-shirts and armbands and wristbands and headbands and the You Can't See Me hands and the whole thing going around. And then you go with CM Punk, who just beat up 63-year-old Jerry the King Lawler in a cage. You tell me what direction this company's going to be going in come the Night of Champions.
Questions as you go on your diatribe here. It's
hot in here.
They've got a few. You said that the core of your rant, if you will, and I hate that word,
if you will,
is WWE needs more baby faces, more top baby faces.
They have them. Use them.
Top baby faces, such as, is Daniel Bryan a face or a heel? He's got to be. He's a face.
He's a baby face.
Yeah. You got Orton, who's clearly, as he said on his own, uncomfortable in that role. You got Sheamus, strong. I got no complaints about him. You've got, I guess Mysterio falls into that category when he's not concussed. Obviously Cena. Who else? Who am I missing?
Zack Ryder.
Top babyface.
He's a top babyface. He's not used. He's a top guy babyface. When he comes out, the crowd gets behind. I'm not saying wins or losses. I'm saying crowd reaction.
I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you on that, Senator.
So you don't like Zack Ryder?
I have no problem with Zack Ryder. However, I don't feel that after his resurrection, if you will, and then death by Kane, he's become less relevant than he should be.
You know what? Let CM Punk. You know what? Do the Paul Orndorff heel turn. Let Cena and Punk be in a tag match against who can be Bundy and Stud, Big Show and Sandow. I don't care.
Yeah.
And then let them completely screw Cena over. Do that. Don't beat up Jerry the King Lawler. If Jerry Lawler is on Raw Monday night, I will be extremely shocked. They're going to keep Jerry the King off TV for a little while. If anything, bring Jerry the King back, let him be the special guest referee for the match between Cena and Punk. And then have the deck stacked against CM Punk, and then maybe he can beat Cena that way.
I was sort of wondering where this whole protect your announcers thing was going with Josh Matthews after Kane threw him the other week. And he replaced Lawler, obviously, this past Monday night. Is that where it's going? Lawler was an announcer. He shouldn't have been in there. Matthews explains his role for being in Lawler's place.
Yeah, but Matthews got chokeslammed by Kane on SmackDown.
He did. He got tossed.
Mm-hmm. I just didn't like it.
You got me on for Clint.
Well, take a sip of Jameson. That might help.
Who took it? It's empty. Carry on.
You know what? For me, make CM Punk the bad guy. Make him the heel. Get him hated. But by beating up Jerry Lawler in Milwaukee, of all places, is not the way to do it. You know I'm right. And
I was not a fan of the match.
No,
don't get me wrong. I was not a fan of the match.
Listen, if they called it a barn burner, they should have burned the barn down. I mean, it was brutal. It was not fun. That's how.
I didn't know you watch Walking Dead.
I watch everything. But listen, they dropped the ball. They kicked it out of bounds. You don't need Jerry Lawler to get CM Punk over as a heel. So that tells me right now that Jerry the King Lawler is their second most over babyface on the Raw brand. John Cena being number 1, Jerry Lawler being number 2.
Perhaps in their mind.
It must be.
Follow you on Twitter at David Herro. And this has been Pro Wrestling Report Extra for Saturday night. And we will be back Monday night when the Meltdown returns, Monday, live on Blog Talk Radio. So I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And we will see you again come Monday night for the Meltdown. For that one, this is Damian Nelson saying good night.
Good night.